Welcome, ladies and gents. Johnryder here. You can find me at BetBoxing on Twitter, or of course you can subscribe to the channel. First and foremost, let me welcome a couple of the new subscribers that have come over after my appearance on G-Man Boxing's channel. Thank you, G-Man, once again for having me on. What a great guy G-Man is, and if you enjoy our little chats as much as I do, then you'll enjoy checking out that particular episode. We spoke about Usyk and Anthony Joshua. We spoke about Dillian Whyte, Tyson Fury. We spoke about Canelo Golovkin 3 and DAZN's decision to put it on pay-per-view, as well as more general decisions that DAZN, I believe, should be making if they want to boost their subscription levels. And we spoke about all those things, so please check that video out. For this particular video, there's lots to cover, and where better to start than Daniel Dubois suing Don King. He alleges that his purse still hasn't been paid for the Trevor Bryant fight, and I mean, I just can't believe it. I mean, such a good, wholesome guy like Don King not paying up. I am shocked and appalled. Listen, man, you know how you get these music artists that will have a #1 hit in like 4 different decades and everyone praises them. What a fantastic artist. They've been able to adapt their musical talents decade after decade to stay relevant. Well, Don King does the same thing, but he's able to adapt in ways of scumbaggery decade after decade to remain relevant. It's unbelievable that this guy still has the influence that he has. But listen, I understand it. If you're Trevor Bryant, we saw that he's no great shakes. I do think he's a little bit better than what he showed against Daniel Dubois. I think he was a deer in the headlights. I think the physical attributes of Dubois completely blew this guy away. But there are 1 or 2 technical elements that are decent. He does have some good upper body movement. He's got a good jab. But he's not an elite level heavyweight, is he? He was never going to get to the top of the sport. And so this was an opportunity for him, I guess, to make money. Rather than be a journeyman, he thought to himself, listen, let me get with Don King. And Don King's probably done well for him, considering what he was able to do with his career. You know, regular title holder, regular world belt and things like that. The thing is, though, when you're Daniel Dubois, a lot of people will say, why on earth would you give him the time of day? It's opened up doors for Dubois, though, hasn't it? He's now picked up that opportunity. So for him, he'll be looking at it and thinking, well, look, I do half expect Don King to try something shady, but maybe I can win this in court and get the money that I'm owed. And even if it's a long battle and I'm not paid immediately, I'm going to beat Trevor Bryant and it will catapult me into the big time. So I guess it's a trade-off. This is how bad boxing has become, whereby you have to deal with people like Don King and you're justifying the idea to yourself that you might not be paid. Now, Jake Donovan of the boxing scene has basically come out and said that according to Don King, his contention is that he's long been owed money by Frank Warren, who is, of course, Daniel Dubois' promoter. The Florida Commission has been investigating since mid-June, but needless to say, none of this is the fault of Daniel Dubois. If you've got issues between the 2 promoters, then you don't make the fight. You don't have business with each other. You don't conduct a business deal. What you don't do is say, right, this is what's going to happen. We're going to shake on it. We're going to sign contracts. And then you renege on those contracts because you're blaming the promoter. Let's say Frank Warren genuinely does owe Don King money. What on earth does that have to do with Daniel Dubois? Pay the man. As Joe Pesci would say, F you, pay me. Moving on from that, let's talk about BILLAM-SMITH and Usyk Chamberlain. What a fight, man. I didn't bring a review of this, so I'm going to be quite quick with it. But I just want to say that Usyk Chamberlain, what a man, what a fighter. He's broken his orbital bone. A lot of people have been saying there have been other fighters who haven't been willing to do this and they quit and things like that. To be fair, not every injury is the same. An orbital bone that is broken is, of course, going to be painful. But if there's nerve damage, it's completely different. So just because one fighter is able to continue and another one isn't, it doesn't mean that the fighter that isn't able to continue is somehow a quitter. And you guys know what I'm referring to here. Having said that, if you have broken an orbital bone and you are going to continue fighting, well, make no mistake, you are one tough SOB, regardless of whether there's nerve involvement or not. And, you know, you can't help but like Usyk Chamberlain. He comes across like such a good dude. And you'd have to say the same thing for BILLAM-SMITH. It was a terrific fight whereby I felt that BILLAM-SMITH was able to get on the inside and force his own type of fight early on. And one of the problems that I felt that Chamberlain had is that he was holding his feet and trying to punish BILLAM-SMITH when he was entering the pocket. So instead of taking half a step back and lining him up with a power shot, when BILLAM-SMITH would make the move to come in, and he's improving on his head movement, by the way, Usyk Chamberlain would plant his feet, hold his feet, and try and throw a big shot. If that shot missed, or even if it was to land, he's then planted and committed to Chris Billam-SMITH would come into him, and then you would start to see a really good inside fight. And at one point it looked like CBS was tiring, but he was able to continue to work at a consistent pace, did some really good inside work. He's very good at using his left shoulder as a lead to lean into the central area of the chest of the opponent. And so he's able to leave a little bit of space between his own right shoulder and the body of the opponent. And he was able to find a lot of success with the right hand to the body. That sort of shovel hook come uppercut to the body. As the fight progressed, he was also showing some good upper body movement in order to roll with and avoid the right hand that was coming from Isaac Chamberlain. It was a terrific fight. I actually had it very similar, in fact, pretty much the same as Natasha Jonas. I had it, I think, 8-4 to Chris Billam-SMITH, but the scoreline doesn't tell the whole story of the fight. It was a grueling affair. And where do you want to see these two guys go next? Chris Billam-SMITH is not going to fight Lawrence Okolie. They are gym mates. They share the same trainer. He's not going to fight Jai Opetaia anytime soon because he's got that broken jaw. He's out till January. It does leave Goulamari and it does leave Makabu. Or, of course, it leaves Richard Riakporhe, a rematch there. Where do you want to see Isaac Chamberlain go? I really do want to see him catapult himself back into the big time. I think he's earned it. He's earned another big fight that deserves to be on our TVs. Not just because of the heart he's willing to show and the risks and things like that. He's fantastic entertainment. So this was a brilliant fight. Let me know what you think about that and where both guys go from here. And talking of Richard Riakporhe, he's come out and he said that Anthony Joshua has the eye of the tiger back. He said, I can't give away the game plan because I would get slaughtered. But one thing I will tell you, the intensity, the intention behind his shots that he throws, the hunger with what he's achieved so far, coming back to the gym day in, day out. A lot of people would not be able to do that if they'd achieved what Anthony Joshua has achieved so far. He's hungry. He wants to create a legacy for himself. I can see it in his eyes. I can see it in his body language. I message him. He's up at 6 a.m. sending me videos. I'm sending him videos too. Studying, and studying some more. So Anthony Joshua is clearly in a place where he's got that eye of the tiger back. Now, being up at 6 a.m. sending videos, he's probably gone for a run or something. He's done some road work maybe, and then he's decided to do some film study. I hope he's not having sleepless nights though, right? You have to be able to control your emotions, but that focus, that intensity, that obsession, it seems, is back for Anthony Joshua. And as fans, all we can do is celebrate that. Now, of course, Richard Riakporhe is his friend. He may just be saying these things. You don't really know. In the same way that we're hearing that Alexander Usyk is just decimating everybody in sparring. Again, you never really know. You know what strikes me about those things? The fighter that broke the story that Alexander Usyk is battering everyone, it was actually a fighter's manager. He was saying that Usyk's been destroying everyone. My guy did really well, actually, but everybody else has been destroyed. And you always sort of hear that. Yeah, listen, I've been holding my own, but he's looking sensational and battering everybody else. Yeah, you're never the one getting battered, right? So you never always get the full story. But the point is, you're going to get stories that are leaked, and some of it will be for mind games, others will be for tactical reasons, whatever the case might be. But some of it will also be truth. And it could very well be true that Anthony Joshua is obsessed. He knows that this is a real crossroads in his career. And it's good to know that he's seemingly, according to Riakporhe, having the eye of the tiger back. And this brings me on to an interesting discussion I saw on Twitter. I hope these two won't mind me bringing it up. Blackfish and Karma Serene. They were discussing Anthony Joshua, and Karma was saying how, well, actually, she was saying how the universe will replace anything you lost with something 10 times better. Just chill. And she's got a photo of Anthony Joshua in an ice bath. She's a big AJ fan, and not just for his boxing. I'm sure she won't mind me saying. But Blackfish said, I'm surprised he doesn't use a cryogenic chamber instead of an ice bath. He certainly has the money to afford one. The thing is, he does have the money to afford one, and he could have been doing this for a very long time. Robert McCracken, even when he was his trainer at Team GB, they've got some state-of-the-art facilities there. There'd be no problems with him being able to do that. This isn't a question of him not having access to it. But in the past, I've heard Anthony Joshua say that he will often have a cold shower in the winter because it's about pushing himself into an area mentally that he's not comfortable with, and he wants to be able to accept this. Now, this is something similar that I saw on an Instagram story with Anthony Yarde and O'Hara Davis recently. Anthony Yarde was mocking O'Hara, who was trying to climb into the ice bath, and O'Hara was trying to just keep completely silent, stay focused. Now, a cryogenic chamber is more efficient than an ice bath. Ultimately, they do the same thing. They reduce inflammation. They aid in the speeding up of your recovery. So does a hot bath after an exercise, by the way. But it's been shown in studies that the cold actually works better than the hot. But either one works better than doing nothing and just having a warm down and a stretch. So a lot of athletes will have traditionally an ice bath. There are more repercussions to that though. When you do have an ice bath, your body can go into sort of like a mini shock, and before you're able to perform at maximum capacity, it can take, say, 24 hours. It can also increase chances of having heart-related issues. With athletes, that's not typically going to be the case. But in general, there are some trade-offs with an ice bath. With a cryogenic chamber, it's a lot quicker as well. It's a couple of minutes rather than, say, 15 or 20 minutes. It's a lot more efficient, and you can get on with your activities immediately afterwards. However, what it doesn't have is that mental test, that thing of this is hard and I've got to stay in this for 15 minutes and I really want to get out. If you're in there for 2 minutes, it's an easier thing to put yourself through. So going back to the psychology of AJ and him having the eye of the tiger, maybe this harks back to him talking about having cold showers when he's not comfortable doing so. He's putting his body through trauma, so to speak, and saying to himself, I am going to accept that there's nothing I can do about this. And he's going to have to get into that sort of mode when it comes to the fight with Usyk, because he's going to have to accept, look, I'm going to be hit as well. I think in the first fight, he took on the notion of, I want to outbox this guy, and if I can avoid getting hit and counter punching him, you know, I can get away with it. Whereas the general narrative seems to be that he's going to have to take one to give one, and he needs to be willing to do that in order to get off his own work. Let me know what you think about AJ and his mentality, and whether you've seen him perhaps turn a corner and really accept the fact that he's going to have to go to war. But moving on from AJ, his ice baths and Karma Serene's innermost thoughts about AJ, let's talk about Josh Kelly and Troy Williamson. There's a lot of talk now about this fight happening for the British title. Troy Williamson was a European champion. He is also undefeated. This is a Northeast derby, so there's some really good stuff on display here. This could be built up into quite a good fight. You know, it could capture the imagination here. You know, Josh Kelly is a very talented fighter. There's no doubt about it. But there is one key area whereby, in my opinion, he has to address. I've spoken about this in the past and he has yet to address it. It's something that could really cost him success at the highest level, and that is his go-to pattern when it comes to defense. And what he tends to do is back off. So there's two ways that he does this. Firstly, he'll back off and show a lot of movement when he's trying to get away from you until his back hits the ropes. And then rather than pivot out and change the angle on you and rotate around the ring with just a jab, pop out a jab, go for a walk and win rounds on a jab, instead, he'll plant his feet and he'll start to change levels by bending at the waist. And he'll do this consistently. And he becomes almost like a sitting duck in a barrel, because he's not moving from that small area, but he's bobbing up and down and moving around. That gives the opponent a target to aim for. He doesn't even always do it when he's backed up onto the ropes. He can do this in the center ring when you're sudden, when you quickly close the range against him. That's his go-to method of defense, and he'll put up a high guard and he'll try and change the levels while he's moving up and down. If he's facing you, what he tends to do is to have his left shoulder facing you, so he's quite narrow, and so he's almost side on. And when you're going to jump in, he will bend forward. Now, him bending forward is essentially, if you're the opponent and you're facing a clock, it's almost as though he's bending towards 9 p.m. So you start to see a real pattern. And from that pattern, you know that you can start to throw left uppercuts or chopping right hands over the top, downstairs, you know, from up to down. And if you can get right on top of him, you can get head control in there as well. And when he's bent down in that manner, there's not much he can do in terms of throwing anything back. And because he's got that wide stance, he's not as quick to exit that pocket and go for a walk. So I genuinely believe this dude, I've been saying this for a long time, he needs to narrow that stance, use a jab more and move around the ring, because he has all the skills and all the biomechanics, but for some reason he makes certain choices, certain habits they might be, that I just think don't work for him. And one of the things that Troy Williamson has said, which makes me think maybe they've spotted this, is he says, I spent most of the fight on my phone, looking up now and then, because it was the same pattern for 10 rounds. In other words, has he spotted this pattern? And is he saying to himself, listen, I don't know what he's going to do. He does the same thing all the time and I know how to deal with it. There's nothing more to learn. Of course I'm going to look at my phone. I don't need to study him. I know what's coming. He's not adaptable. And for a guy who's as skilled as Josh Kelly, that's not a good thing to be hearing. Now, of course, this could just be mind games, but you understand what I'm saying here. Josh Kelly's capable of doing so many things. He really shouldn't have set patterns. He needs to be varied. Let me know what you think about that and if you'd be excited about this fight. I know I would be. Moving on from that, there's been a lot of talk about Jaime Munguia fighting Johnryder. That'd be a brilliant fight, one I'd love to see. A great clash of styles, because you know that Johnryder likes to come inside and manipulate the opponent's body on the inside. And he's been in with a puncher before, like Jamie Cox, and he was able to really do a number on Jamie. Well, Jaime Munguia is another guy who technically leaves a lot to be desired at times, but he's an underrated fighter, particularly because the physical elements of him and the punch and power are fantastic. And he's very, very good against fighters that are willing to come to him. Think of guys like Liam-Smith, right? He's a power puncher. Rosado, he's a devastating guy. So as Ryder comes in, he's going to think to himself, you know what, when I get right up close, I'm going to be able to cause Munguia some serious issues because I'm a better technical inside fighter. That's how he'll see this. And I know I'm physically strong, the gorilla and so on and so forth, but he can be hurt, Johnryder. And on his way in, trying to enter the pocket, moving into Munguia, that's exactly what Munguia wants. And we know he's a banger. So this sets up for a fantastic barn burner of an affair. Golden Boy have 2 or 3 fights, don't they, that if they can make, they could catapult themselves back into the game, because this would be a terrific fight. Ryan Garcia and Tank Davis, if they could somehow get that over the line, if Tank would come out of witness protection, that would be a brilliant fight and a big money spinning fight. And then you've also got potentially Bivol against Zerdo, which would also be brilliant. So there's a lot riding at the moment for Golden Boy and Oscar De La Hoya. But talking of Bivol, there are other options there. According to Rob Tebbett, there's talks of Dimitri Bivol fighting Joshua Buatsi next. This is after all that talk of him fighting Zerdo and Buatsi fighting Jean Pascal. Now, Jean Pascal would have been a step up, in my opinion, for Buatsi in a different method. You know, Craig Spider Richards is a really good technical fighter, something that he's shown against both Buatsi and against Dimitri Bivol. A very durable guy too, you know, a real tough guy, a great chin. Pascal, though, offers a different physical test, and he's a lot more grueling in terms of what he dishes out, and he's able to offset what you're trying to do and break your construct and make it into his type of fight, a sloppy fight. So for a very good technical boxer, he can drag you into areas that you don't really want to go. And he's dirty as well. He'll throw a low blow and lead with his head and throw elbows and forearms. It's a different type of test. Well, regardless of whether you want to see Buatsi go in with a guy like that or go in against a very clean technical fighter but go for the belt of Dimitri Bivol, it looks like Buatsi is now ready to catapult himself into the real big time. Let me know what you think about this. Do you feel Buatsi is ready? You know, I really like Buatsi as a human being as well as a fighter, and I'm excited to see him take that big step up, whichever way it will go. Let me know what you think. Which particular path do you think he should take, will take, and how you think that fight will go. There's also the potential return of Deontay Wilder on the horizon. He has been spotted training with Badu Jack. It's good to see him back. Hopefully we see him back in the ring sooner rather than later. Thank you for watching, everyone. Please don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe button, and notifications button. Thanks for watching. Take care. God bless.